Today is a special day, you know? Today's Revue Starlight's 5th anniversary, and there's no better way to celebrate it than binge watching the anime. What? You don't have time to do that? Not even the compilation movie? Well, don't worry, because I will summarize the anime for you, and it will be so detailed it could count as watching it. So, make yourself comfortable! Or not, I won't tell you how to live your life. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Karen who had a friend called Hikari. Hikari took her to watch a stage play called The Starlight Gatherer. Karen loved it so much, she decided to base her personality on the play's characters. She also made a promise with Hikari. Something about doing Starlight together or something. But that doesn't matter, because Hikari was about to leave for London. Karen, crying her eyes out, begged Hikari not to go to London. To London! Hikari justifies herself by saying that if she stays, Karen would become a parasite. Thing that ended up happening years later. Anyway, Karen manages to enroll in one of Japan's most prestigious acting academy. How? It's still a mystery. It isn't anymore, but this is not the movie summary, so let's act like we don't know. In that academy, she made friends with whom she discusses important things like, why is it called Earth if 70% is water? Shut up or I'll kiss you. Oh yeah, there's a lot of sexual tension here. Later, Karen starts having lucid dreams, wondering if Nana's lunch was made of something else besides bananas. She wakes up with the announcement of a transfer student. Everyone was surprised, even Nana. And you know why? Because Nana, just like anyone else, is a human being. So, why wouldn't she? That girl was none other than Albert Einstein. None other than Hikari, Karen's childhood friend, who, despite that, was giving Karen the cold shoulder, and everyone noticed that. Karen decides to invade Hikari's privacy just to watch her running from the window. Wow, maybe Hikari saw that coming. Karen follows her to a very sassy elevator which took her to a kind of fight club where the girls apparently want to wound badly between themselves while singing, staged by a motherfucking giraffe! Karen finds Hikari fighting against Junna, and she's losing. So, without fearing the flying arrows, because seriously, one arrow could literally do more than gouge out her eye, Karen jumps to the stage to protect her, cheating and stealing Junna's victory. And how do you say when you're saved? You donkey! Wait, what? The next day, Karen wants to ask Hikari what was all that about, but Hikari didn't answer her, because rule number 1 of the auditions, you do not talk about the auditions, and rule number 2, you do not talk about the auditions. Meanwhile, Mahiro thinks Hikari is taking Karen away from her. Since Hikari doesn't answer her questions, Karen asks Junna, but neither does she answers. Is it because it's against the auditions rules? No, she was just pissed at Karen. After a montage of the girl's daily life, we are shown how Hikari asks the giraffe to remove Karen from the auditions. But the giraffe clearly doesn't give a Nana finds Hikari and tries to be her friend, right? Nobody knows, only you, of course. Nana leaves Junna alone on a class practice, and she has to practice with Karen, and it seems like nobody wanted to team up with her. Both argue, well, more like she was betting on Karen, then she collapses. Hours later, Hikari tells Karen that she shouldn't participate in the auditions, but she refuses, because she doesn't want to be a parasite anymore. Junna wakes up and gets ready for her revenge. Luckily, the giraffe is bloodthirsty, so it allowed it. Junna vents again her frustrations on Karen because life didn't let her be the anime character that can beat someone with years of training. Karen tells her not to be angry, and she was like, okay. And now, they are BFFs. And they let everyone else know that by using phrases out of context like, I'm sorry I'm exhausted, I had a lot of action last night. That's no excuse, I had the same amount of action as you and I'm not tired. And it didn't help that when their friends ask for context, they say it's a girl's secret, but they are all girls! And that seemed to make someone really mad. Then, the formal announcement of this year's performance of Starlight is made. And it's also announced that Nana will be at backstage. So the girls use political tactics on Nana to get noticed by her. Later, we see that if Hikari can't convince Karen to stop participating in the auditions, then she will have to make her disappear. By tying her, of course. But we see that Karen uses her survival instincts and manages to escape, because she's the protagonist. Nothing can beat her. After that reality check, Hikari finds a depressed Karen, so she slaps her. Like if this wasn't the first time Mimori Suzuko voiced a character that slaps the protagonist. Since the plan of making Karen disappear failed, Hikari proceeded with plan B. Disappear. Or maybe she just wanted to give Karen a bad time by making her run through Tokyo. And once she wasn't angry anymore, she answered Karen's messages, and they started to catch up after 12 years of not knowing about the other. Meanwhile, on Seisho, Mahiro was covering Karen because it was her turn for cleaning duty. Now that I think about it, Hikari saved Karen from that. What a good friend. We have Futaba, who's becoming tired of being Kaoruko's underling, and Claudine confronts Maya, asking her why she takes part in the auditions. Maya's answer was, "Mind your own f***ing business, Ma Claudine. I'll do it because I can." Back to Karen and Hikari, they talk about their promise and about the auditions. Hikari tells Karen that if she fails on the auditions, she will lose what's more important for a stage girl. But for Karen, those words went in one ear and out the other as she said, "Then how about we both win?" To which Hikari replied, "I don't think that's going to be easy." And Karen says, "Come on, I'm the protagonist. There's no way it can go wrong." Sorry, spoilers. Back again with Karen and Hikari. They came back the next morning, because it seemed like both of them didn't think they were going to spend money on something that wasn't the travel expenses. So, the other girls had to cover them up. And after a heartfelt reunion, they get busted and punished. How? I don't know, it wasn't that important. There are only 12 episodes, they couldn't spend more time on a possible reference to the stage plays. The next day, we see that Karen and Hikari are already practicing early in the morning. Like if they didn't have a third roommate that may be interested in extra practicing. Assholes. Mahiro starts to notice that Karen is done with being her parasite. She also receives from her family a box with potatoes and a video from when she was in junior high. Mahiro watches the video just to become part of the people who hated junior high club. She starts to feel more isolated. Can you blame her? It feels like it's made on purpose. She confronts Hikari, telling her to not steal Karen from her. But Hikari replies that she shouldn't use the word steal that carelessly. Does Hikari have a reason to tell her that? Mahiro couldn't care less, but later, she would have a moment to vent her frustrations. Yep, I'm talking about the auditions. And after apparently wanting to wound Karen badly, just like any girl in the reviews, Karen tells her that she isn't depressed, she's just distracted, making Mahiro understand that Karen is right. Jeez, Karen, your coaching abilities are really something else. Later that day, Nana cooks Mahiru's potatoes while the girls are watching Mahiru's junior high video, and Mahiro finally realized that junior high wasn't really that bad after all. The next day, the girls are told that this year's Starlight's production has begun, so they were going to make even more auditions, where Kaoruko gets off on the wrong foot, and she got angry thanks to that. But what got her even angrier was that Futaba was practicing after classes. She thought Futaba wanted to take the lead role away from her. They argue, they fight, and Futaba's friendship with Kaoruko ended. Now Claudine was her new best friend. Kaoruko realized that she needed Futaba more than Futaba needs her. But instead of facing the truth and apologizing, she fucking leaves, hoping for Futaba to follow her because she is the one who must need Kaoruko. Everyone got sad, but not Futaba. She couldn't care less. Or that's what she made everyone believe. Before Kaoruko leaves, Maya told her, "Don't give up, my queen. If you do, who will be jealous of your success?" But Kaoruko gave her zero fucks. She starts to think that Futaba wouldn't come. But she did. They started to argue and the giraffe was like, "If you're going to argue, please use this as you get angrier." Mid-fight, Kaoruko was about to do the closest thing to seppuku that someone can do in the auditions. Futaba tries to stop her, but after failing in deceiving Futaba and win, Kaoruko only said, "Haha, baited." The stage morphs. Kaoruko finally understood what Maya told her and defeats Futaba. But she wasn't angry, on the contrary. She was happy because when Kaoruko becomes the baddest bitch in the world, she would be there to watch her. How cute, isn't it? Wanna know what happens after that? What a shame, because we are going back in time to last year's Seisho festival. Spoiler alert, it was a success, so they threw a party to celebrate it. That's when Nana discovers what's happiness, that the true Starlight was the friends she made along the way. Something that makes her sad because she wouldn't be able to relive her golden age. I mean, it's not like she can befriend her old friends again. While everyone else waited for a new and different year, Nana expected it to be the same as the last one. What can I do? She asked herself until boom! She's magically on a stage with a giraffe, which invites her to participate in an audition where the winner can create their dream stage. Nana wasn't interested until the giraffe told her that she can create any stage, no matter if it is a past one. Well, the giraffe never answered Nana's question. She participated anyway. She could have won just to end up like a clown because the giraffe didn't agree with what she said. Fortunately, the giraffe's rules are so big enough to allow that. So yeah, she returned to her first year in Seisho, but since time inevitably flows, eventually she was back on her second year. But she discovered the best life hack of her life there. If she wins again, she would be able to repeat her first year one more time. And that ended up happening. Again and again. Congratulations, Nana. You won again. What's your stage of fate? You know it. Make it stop! Choose another one! I beg you! You would have to force me to do that. I understand. Nana realized her first year one more time. But on this second year, something happened for the first time. Hikari makes an appearance, and since that, everything was different from before. And we're back to the first episode. Wanna know what happens after that? Well, you won't, because we're going back in time again. Remember small girls Karen and Hikari? Well, eventually, Hikari went to London, attending a very prestigious acting academy, where she participates in the already mentioned auditions, London edition. But Hikari fails, of course, otherwise there won't be a story to tell. Well, more like they would be telling the same story again and again. After losing, Hikari notices she lacks something. She had lost the joy of standing on the stage. She went to confront the giraffe because it never told her what would happen if she failed on the auditions. But the giraffe's answer was... Anyway, the giraffe had enough of Nana's repeat performances, so it gave Hikari another chance. Now, in Japan's auditions, on a certain academy we already know about. And now, everything makes sense. And it's time to see what happens on the 6th day of the auditions! Hikari versus Nana! Where Nana bends up on Hikari for changing everything. The face-off was really unbalanced, but Hikari couldn't afford to lose again. Then, she remembers what Karen told her and their promise about doing Starlight together. And, in a shonen-like fashion, she gets a power-up and a falling Tokyo Tower, beating Nana. Nana tells Hikari, "Don't get cocky, you little Sooner or later you will have to fight Karen." Hikari didn't have a good response to that. She won the face-off, but Nana had the moral victory. Until Hikari said, "Hope harder." Or something like that, I don't know. She surely said something mean, because Nana was really upset the next day. Speaking of that day, the script of the new Starlight was finished, and it was shown to the girls. And they liked it even more than the previous one. Ouch, that must have hurt. Yuna noticed something was wrong with Nana, so she follows her. On the other hand, Hikari flexes her British copy of Starlight to Karen, and they read it together. And after a lot of fragments about the play, we finally get a proper summary. That's why I will do an even more abridged summary. Once upon a time, there were two girls, Flora and Claire, who met thanks to something we could call destiny in the Star Festival. Everything went smoothly. They even made a promise to meet again the next year. But on her way home, something happened to Claire, and she loses her memory. However, she still went to the festival the next year, but she couldn't figure out who Flora was. That should have been awkward. Flora proposes Claire to go to the Starlight Tower to pluck the star that was on its peak, because they would be granted a wish. The wish to get Claire's memories back. But the tower was protected by goddesses. How did Flora and Claire deal with them? If they didn't take the time to explain it in the anime, why should I do that? Up there, before plucking the star, it burned Flora's eyes. making her fall from the tower. And to make things even sadder, Claire finally remembered Flora, just to never see her again. I mean, it's a tragedy. Of course it was going to be sad. Speaking of sad things, Yuna finds Nana remembering junior high, which she hated, and nothing will change her mind. She starts to mumble to herself loudly, maybe because she wanted Yuna to listen to her. I mean, she was aware that she wasn't alone in the classroom anymore. Anyway, the louder she spoke, the sadder she felt because this new Starlight wasn't like the one she cherished. But it's auditions time! And on her way to the elevator, she starts to look for the real culprit behind all these changes. It wasn't Hikari, she was formally invited to the auditions. So the only one left was Karen. So now, Nana wants to beat the shit out of Karen. And she was lucky, because she was making a free beat-up giveaway. And Karen won the big prize. Nana confronted Karen there, because she represented everything that has changed this second year. But since change is inevitable, Nana gets depressed, because she has lost her loop forever. But Yuna comes to comfort Nana in a way that can make everyone cry. But most importantly, tomorrow was the last day of the auditions. And Nana made it even more special by making banana-shaped sweets. But it seemed like everyone just grabbed their own and left. Did someone at least thank Nana? Couldn't they eat together like with the potatoes? While Claudine and Maya were practicing waiting for the call, Karen and Hikari went to Tokyo again. Which means Hikari's move days ago ended up being useful for both. Now that I think about it, this is the first time I see someone warming up for the auditions. It's not like it really matters because we all know how it ends, so I'll just keep talking. Karen and Hikari went to the store where they bought the hairpins and started recalling their childhood. Before the auditions, Hikari starts to get anxious, maybe because she knows what would happen if she fails again. In the auditions, they noticed that since they were now 9, some rescheduling had to be made, allowing them to have a tag match. Karen was happy because she was right, but Hikari knew something was wrong. After all, there were 2 episodes left. Anyway, Maya teams up with Claudine and Hikari with Karen. Oh, I forgot about something. Since the other girls weren't in the first 4 places, they were as the audience. But on the bright side, they had free food. And after a really passionate duel with even more sexual tension, Karen and Hikari won. While Claudine felt like their defeat was her fault, Maya told her, "That's enough, my Claudine. Stop embarrassing yourself and kiss me." Well, perhaps she didn't say the last thing. But when Karen and Hikari believed they had unlocked the good ending, boom! Of course it wasn't going to end there. Turns out, now they are going to have a tiebreaker a la Wii Sports Resort. While Karen refused to fight, Hikari didn't even think it twice and...
betrayed.
Karen falls from the peak. Fortunately, she falls to the water, so everything's okay. Meanwhile, the giraffe offers Hikari her stage of fate, made using the girl's brilliance. But Hikari said something like, "Yuck, I don't want it, especially not Kaoruko's. She's as bright as a sloth. What can you expect from her brilliance?" And against the giraffe expectations, she was going to build her stage of fate on her own. I assume after that tragic ending, everyone just headed to their rooms without speaking about what happened. Just to read the next day that Hikari dropped out from Seisho, with a really saucy signed paperwork. But Karen couldn't face it, so she tried to contact Hikari by phone calling her on her British Academy. She even asked the police, but nobody knew her whereabouts. Days turned into months. Life kept going on, but Karen couldn't let Hikari go. She still sent her text messages, letters. "Please, Karen, let her go! The accident wasn't your fault!" However, the show must go on. That's why the cast for this year's Starlight would be the same as the last one. And it's because it would be the same as the last one that Karen will be there as well. But she didn't feel that joy of being on the stage anymore. And then, she remembered what Hikari told her. "For f***'s sake, Karen, do you want me to slap you again?" I mean, if you fail in the auditions, you will lose what's most important for a stage girl. Funnily enough, the other girls felt like nothing happened. And that was because Hikari didn't steal their brilliance. But she wasn't aware that, for Karen, she was her brilliance. Anyway, Karen is still not letting Hikari go, finds her British copy of Starlight and started translating it. And doing that, she noticed that the book has a different ending. Claire gets trapped in the Starlight Tower. And since Karen and Hikari based their personalities on Flora and Claire respectively, Karen assumed that Hikari was still in that tower. She decided to look for Hikari in the only place she didn't think of before. I mean, that's understandable. The entrance was closed. She literally was willing to damage Seisho's infrastructure just to find her. But since the giraffe knows how expensive it would be to fix that, it lets her in. Then a really beautiful scene happens. So beautiful, I invite you to rewatch it. You know what? Pause the video and go watch it. Did you watch it? Okay, let's keep going. Karen reaches the end and enters the door to the stage. She finds an entry ticket to Hikari's stage of fate, and she gets in. There she finds Hikari, who's wearing rags. Maybe that's the only thing left of her clothes after more than 7 months of performing Starlight non-stop. Karen tries to talk to her, but Hikari didn't answer. Was she ignoring her? Was she in trance? She got into character, you dumbass. And you know who's also there, looking more like a busybody than a spectator? You understand! While all that happens, in the other part of Seisho, the girls are preparing a meal for when Karen comes back with Hikari. But since those two were taking their time, the girls started to eat without them. Back to the tower. Karen makes Hikari put her feet on the ground by saying the magic words. Whoever forgets her promise is a bitch! After that, they start crying because how touching it is! They meet again after almost 7 months. And the world starts to crumble down because, dramatism? I love it. Hikari slowly descends into the darkness, but Karen jumps to her once again, and we watch the sizes and sequence one last time. I just noticed that I haven't mentioned it before despite being so important. They start to fight. The giraffe breaks the fourth wall, and boom! Karen loses again. But the anime's director wanted a happy ending. Seriously, he even said so on an interview. He gave Karen a power-up and haha, we see the sizes and sequence again. I completely forgot about that. But this is actually the last time we will see it. Karen rises up again, because the Flora she based her personality on would climb up the tower to rescue Claire. So she does that. Crashing the Tokyo Tower, my god! I can't help myself but imagine Furukawa saying, and then the Tokyo Tower breaks through the wall and crashes to the stage. And Koide is like, great idea. Anyway, despite being apart, their promise, the Tokyo Tower joins them again. How poetic. The stage morphs again, and they have their last showdown. But now, they don't seem to want to take an eye off the other one with those stabbing weapons. Karen wins, and somehow, she convinces the girls to do a recast and change the play's ending, because it looked like everyone was okay with that. And so, they tie this great story with a beautiful bow. Or that's what everybody thought, because in Rondo Rondo Rondo, there's an epilogue where Nana is speaking with the giraffe about how Karen changed the ending, and they started to write a new one. And after that, we see a scene worthy of an internet creepypasta, but without the hyper-realistic eyes and with Nana shit buttons. My fetish. Following Nana saying that she was waiting for Hikari, and it ends. The movie has a post-credit scene where Hikari mentions that her stage of fate isn't over. What does that mean? Well, most of us already know. And with this, I wrap up my Revue Starlight recap. Just like Dora the Explorer, yes, because I'm Mexican, I will ask for your favorite part of the trip, only to tell you that I like that too, because I really love everything about Revue Starlight, so comment it! I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed narrating it. I just want to say, happy 5th anniversary Revue Starlight. I want to thank Bushiroad, Nelke Planning, and Kinema Citrus for all the unforgettable moments you gave us through this franchise. Especially for being there where I needed it the most. I don't know what my life would be if Starlight didn't exist. Truth be told, I don't even know if I would be still here. That's why I give my best wishes to the franchise and everybody behind it. Thank you, from the bottom of my heart. I wish all of you a nice day, and I'll be waiting at the next stage.